Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indy Comics Explained. And yet again, I brought on another fantastic guest. But before we bring her on, please hit like, hit subscribe, share out the video, let everybody know we're here. And without further ado, my guest. Hello, Krysta. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for asking. Now, please let everybody know who you are.
Hi. So I'm Krysta Crawford. I am a pediatric nurse practitioner by trade, and I am an artist by passion. And I'm the creator of the comic book series Wolf and I love being in this indie community.
All right, cool. Now, I asked this question to everyone. It's a generic question. I'm sure you've heard it a billion times, but it's one of those questions that I just have to ask. All right. So now, little Krysta, I'm pretty sure there were comic books around you, right? And I don't need to know the first comic you ever read. That really doesn't interest me. What interested me is the comic that you read that inspired you to write comics.
Okay, now this is a tough one because so it's partially comics and partially actually books. I'm a huge book reader, and I was a bigger book reader before I became a comic book reader. I had my comics here and there as a kid, but I grew up reading 20 to 50 books a year and still do, of your classics, your Harry Potter, your Tolkien's, your Les Mis, like all of that. And so that really inspired me to become a writer. So I started, my comic was actually written to be a book, but I have always been an artist. So I was drawing. And finally the worlds kind of collided 2 years ago when I was like, I've never published this book that I've written. I've been drawing art for years. I've been selling art at Comic-Con. I've been helping other creators with their indie comics with art. I'm like, it's time for me to bring this story to life. And as far as like comics that inspired me, I really, being a Disney fan, I read all of the Disney comics. Like majority of my comic collection are like the Disney inspired comics. Going older school, like outside of Disney, would probably be Wanda. I love the Scarlet Witch, and so Scarlet Witch is a lot of the majority of the comics that I read.
All right, cool, nice.
It's a good variety.
Oh, yeah, it is. I just want to ask. I mean, do you find yourself? Have you ever do you write prose on the regular, or do you just stick to comic books?
A little bit of everything. In my day-to-day job, I handle, deal with kids. I've been working in the medical field with pediatrics for over 7 years now. And so a lot of my day comes not only just helping them, but like helping them cope with the situation that they're in. So I've spent many, many nights and days making up stories, making up poems, drawing little sketches and art to hang up in their, the kids' rooms inpatient and then to give to kids outpatient. And so a little bit of everything.
Gotcha. Okay. That's cool. Now, as a creator, now you're obviously creating your own books, you're creating your own stories. So how do you go? What's your process? Like, are you writing a full script for yourself? Or are you like doing little Post-it notes and have like 10,000 of them all over the place?
Can you see behind me?
How are you working that?
So with Wolf and I, the main comic that I'm working on right now, I actually have the entire book written out like in book form. And then translating it to comic has been a lot of like storyboarding and sticky notes and like writing notes in the sideline and then transferring it over to like a mind map. And so I have each issue like mind mapped out of like, this is what I want start to finish, like these pages of the book that I've written in this issue of this comic. And I've kind of split it up into chapters. That way, you have a start to finish idea, kind of leaves a little bit on the cliffhanger. So you're ready for the next one. And once I have that storyboard down with all my sticky notes and my side, notes and things written in the margins, that's when I really start sketching things out.
Nice. Now, you say you have it in book form. So do you have it in prose and you're like turning it into a comic book? Or gotcha.
Yeah, okay. So it's like full on chapters, sentences, descriptions. And so it's been a challenge kind of taking it from that mindset and then changing it into scenes and small like word bubbles and, just as a writer's perspective, like changing it has been a real big challenge and learning curve for me over the last 2 years.
Okay, that's cool. I do something similar with my title, The Oswald Chronicles.
Mm-hmm.
I started it in prose, and then there's some stories that I've written just as comics, and then there are
Mm-hmm.
others that were just prose that I have to turn into a comic book. So
Yep.
I'm writing a script, and unlike you, I work with an artist, so I have to like really outline it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think
now,
that I think
no,
that
okay.
makes it a little bit easier as being the artist and the author. I kind of have it in my head,
Mhm,
instead of having to like put it in somebody else's perspective.
mhm. True. Now, um, now myself as like I said, as a prose writer, as an author, um, I find that when I transition over to a script,
Hmm.
you have to go into your story because you're prose, right? So you can sometimes brain vomit on the page, right?
Yes.
Right, and you'll go in
Yes.
there, but you sometimes, how do you find yourself dealing with pulling that away and then dealing with, because comic pages, those panels are precious and you don't want to waste them. There's a
Yes.
lot of time creating them, a lot of time, for myself is, money, right? So you want to try to, squish it
Condense
down.
it, get
Yep.
your story in, but not like spend pages writing one little scene.
Exactly. So I mean, how are you dealing with that?
Whew. All right. Well, this goes back to we're on issue 4. So when I look back to issue 1, like it's leagues and bounds of learning curves. I think with issue 1, I had a huge struggle with that. I wanted to like spread scenes out over multiple pages, or I'd
Mhm.
have like chunks of narrative, descriptive like paragraphs in the middle of like my scenes. And so, working with other creators and, getting edits done and looking through it, I've really had to, I do a lot of like basic sketches first of like stick
Mhm.
people so that I
Right.
can get an idea of like where I want the scene to set. Cause, a picture says 1,000 words, but if it's not the right picture, it's not going to portray the story and what you're trying to say. And so there's so much that can be said if you put the right image and the right like directional view of what's going on, that you don't almost even need any words to describe what's going on. And so a practice, to be honest, and a lot of like scrapped pages and start scratching it all out and then being like, no, this doesn't flow well into this page, so how do I condense it? Or do I need to make this scene into 2 pages with multiple panels? Or do I need to shrink the panels and put 6 or 8 panels on this page instead of 4 panels on this page? And so I feel like it's like a lot of like going back to the drawing table until I get kind of the flow that I want before I put the details in.
Mhm. Okay. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. Like I said, I mean, there are portions of some of my stories I've had to yank out entire page, like whole pages, just
Oh yeah.
chop
You're
them
like,
in.
this doesn't, yeah, it's like the fluff. You're like, I can get rid of the fluff.
Yes. And sometimes it's painful. You're like, I like that scene so much.
I know. And that's, I have a lot of pages that I've like put to the side that eventually when I put out a trade paper book, I want to
Mhm,
have like deleted scenes or like add in scenes that, weren't
mhm.
included in the original comics that I just haven't like, I can't let go of.
Gotcha. Yeah. No. That's exactly it. So now in the process, like we all have, as creators, we all have that section in the process that we enjoy, right?
Hmm.
So what is that process that you find yourself enjoying the most?
Ooh, this is a hard one because there's a couple that I like there's pros and cons to every single concept.
Mhm,
I would say of the most, I like the finalizing, like adding the colors and the details. I do the story and the lines and the colors and the lettering and of course the writing. But I send it off to a flatter to get the flats done.
mhm,
And so my favorite process is when all the flats come back and I can like visualize and being like, okay, I'm going to take this flat 2D world and we're going to add in highlights and shadows and spark. And it's a magical book. It's got magical creatures and powers. So like adding in those like bursts of magic and the glitter and just the jazzing it up part and seeing like that
mhm.
final piece. That's what I love.
Gotcha. Okay, that's cool. For myself, I like the printed. I like to get my first proof from the printer. That's my
Yes.
favorite.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
That's a whole nother section. Getting to
Mhm.
see the proofs of your work come to life on paper,
Yep.
or even getting the variant covers back and getting to see your character through other people's eyes. I,
Mhm.
I feel like I put that in a whole different category because it's such good feels.
Mhm. Oh yeah, definitely. I love it. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you the
Mhm.
opposite. So, which is the portion of the process that you most dread?
Flatting. And so it is one of the most like arcane, drives me crazy. I absolutely hate it. And I feel like it takes me 100,000 years. And so I did all the flatting for the first book. And so from issue 2 on, I've actually brought in a flatter, which was kind of nice because, you know, as an artist, it's his career. It's a good friend of mine. He does amazing flats. And, you know, to be able to support him while still making my dream become a reality and getting to work with him like really closely on it, you know, makes me feel good that I'm supporting somebody else. And then also takes that like stress off of my shoulders because he whips out pages like before I can blink my eye.
Gotcha. Larry from Niobe Comics is word.
Yes.
I guess he feels the same way.
And I do flatter. If anybody needs one, it comes very highly recommended.
Yes. Yeah, I have at least one that, yeah. I don't know if you're using the same lady that Daphne uses.
Oh no, mine's a gentleman. That's here out in Arizona.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he used a young lady out in the Philippines.
You know what? Around the world, there's artists everywhere. This one is a friend that's out here in Arizona, so it's nice because we see each other at conventions and stuff too. So it's nice to like be able to ping ideas off of people and, you know, have somebody that gives you like an inside look too when they're like going through and flatting and, you know, giving you that internal feedback before it like goes to actual press.
No, definitely. So you're on your 4th campaign, right? So you're a little bit of a veteran. You're getting in there.
Right? Some days I feel like a veteran, and some days I feel like a noob.
Yeah, trust me. I've done 25 of them, and I know exactly how you feel. So yeah. So what's the biggest lesson you've learned from your first campaign to this current campaign? Like, what's the thing you
communication? Communication and deadlines. I underestimated how long it would take me to like get everything proof ready, send it off, get the proof printed, actually approve the proof. You know, I made some changes, reprinted another proof, made some more changes. And so just really like being honest with myself of like how long things are going to take, how long things are going to take to get printed, how long other things like pins and stickers and all of those things are going to take to get back in order to let people know who's backing, know like when stuff is anticipated to ship. That has been my biggest thing, and communicating with it because stuff happens all the time, especially with us living in this crazy global pandemic nonsense world where you never know when monkeypox is going to cause a delay.
Yeah. I'm in New York, so we're the outbreak central, right, of it. So
yeah.
Monkeypox. Yeah, that's what we need. Jesus. Okay. So as far as merchandise goes, like what's the what's your key merch that you're pushing now that you like the most?
So what I like the most is my pins, and there are pictures of them are all over my social media and on the Kickstarter. For every issue I've released, I've handmade I've made and submitted an enamel pin. So the first comic we did a wolf, the second comic we kind of combined and we did a meowl. So we have a character who's a half cat, half owl, and then I have the moon logo as a pin. And then for this most recent campaign, number 4, I did a mermaid because there were mermaids introduced in issue 3 and they play a big role in issue 4. And so it's just really exciting to get to see, like, you know, I do stickers too, and I have done T-shirts and, you know, prints and bookmarks and like other little chintzy things like that. But the pins just are so cool to me, and I'm a big collector. You know, it goes back to my being a Disney adult. I love Disney pins, and so to be able to see my own comic like as a pin or like a, you know, a pin that's inspired by the comic is really neat.
No, that's cool. I did one, I guess, 2 campaigns ago. And it took me 2 years to do the damn pin.
Oh
no! Well, only because I was stuck with indecision. I was like,
yeah,
do you like this or do you like that? Do you like this? Do you like that? And then we just ended up going with the original look of the original picture. It's like,
which sometimes is, they tell you never to second guess when you're doing quizzes because your first guess, your instinct is, you know, the one to go with. And so I think sometimes as artists we tend to like second guess our artwork. We second guess like what we're gonna do to finalize, because it's not just like printing a sticker and you're done. Like, you know, making a pin is like a hefty thing.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: it wasn't expensive, right? But it was just one of these things where I wanted to get it right the first time. So it was just,
Yeah.
you know,
Otherwise, you're stuck with these 100 pins that you are not happy with.
right, and that's not really so. It's hard to sell at that point.
Yeah. It's hard to sell something that you're not super excited about. And
Exactly.
that's one thing I love about indie comics. And when I've talked to other creators who are putting out their own comics, when I've talked to artists who are working on books, is everybody I've talked to is excited about their project. And you can tell the people that are really excited to be putting out their story, to be putting out their art, to be putting out their project. And you can tell the people that are like, this is my comic. It's up on Kickstarter. Yeah, back it. Woohoo. There's boobs in it.
Listen, I love the guys with the boob comics.
Oh no, nothing wrong to them. Like, everybody's got their own thing, and that's the nice thing about indie comics is there's a comic book for everybody. There's a genre for everybody. You just have to find your audience.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I mean, you know. So, all right. Here's a good one for you. Well, I think this might. So, obviously, you've been doing this. Like I said, this is your fourth campaign. So, where do you find your greatest support coming from? Do you think you're using a mailing list? Are you, doing a lot of podcast shows like this? Are you, where do you find yourself, getting your greatest support from?
I will have to say that it's kind of shifted from issue one. Issue one, my first campaign I did was a lot of family and friends. It was a lot of family and friends and a few people that followed me on social media. And that is a lesson that I learned, is just really build up that audience and try to, reach out and find your key audience. And so that for me had been really challenging, because a lot of the indie comic book creators that I work with, that we did a lot of share for share, or like self, promoting each other. They do a lot of adult books or a lot of like little kid books. And my comics are very teen rated. So it's got some elements in there that are not appropriate for all ages. There's violence and innuendos, but it's not exactly like a mature sex, like booby book sticking out everywhere. And so that was really kind of a challenge. And so just building up the emailing list, talking about on social media, getting on podcasts, posting on Instagram and Twitter, and supporting other people and finding people to really like, hey, your audience is similar to mine. Let me promote your campaign. You promote my campaign. You never know who's going to be like, that's my jam. How have I never heard of this before?
Mm-hmm. No, very true. All right, cool. Now, okay, so on your first campaign, you obviously, what was the inspiration to use Kickstarter? Like, why did you say, okay, now's the time?
So I was a poor college student finishing my last year of college. I was actually graduating May of 2020. And so I didn't really have the funds to like print the first issue. And so I was looking at different things like, oh, maybe if I just pay for like 10 of them and put them on Etsy, or, I looked into different avenues. And then somebody had mentioned, that they had done their comic on Kickstarter and, start with a low funding goal to kind of just get enough issues to like give some to the local comic shop, sell some on Etsy, and just get that initial print run. And so that's kind of where I started with Kickstarter, because it was a good way for people to pre-order the comic. And it gave me another avenue of like advertising that wasn't going to cost me anything, because they show up, the newest Kickstarters and the ending soon Kickstarters and the close to funding Kickstarters. And so that was really appealing to me, because at the time I really didn't have an audience, and I was kind of making a shift, because my social media presence was focused a lot more on like fan art and costumes and baking, and not really like comic supporters. And so that's kind of what shifted me into Kickstarter. I did look into Indiegogo and I did try that, but it didn't go well.
Yeah, Indiegogo's tough. That's a tough one. I've done Indiegogo, and it's like getting punched in the mouth every time.
That's kind of how I felt. It was a one and done, and be like, just kidding, I'm running back to Kickstarter. We're just going to stay there and be happy. Yeah,
I've done a few of them, and it's every time, woof. It's like, if you raise $500 or $1,000, you're like, yeah, it's just like, okay. But yeah, it's a rough one. You really have to bring your audience with you.
Yes.
With that one, yeah.
And I think even with Kickstarter, like, it's important to have your audience, and because yes, you can luck out and get like on there, and then everybody spreads the word, and all of a sudden you're making thousands of
Mhm.
dollars. But the reality is that's one in thousands and thousands. The majority of people who are doing well on Kickstarter are they're bringing their own audience in, and they're cross promoting with other people to bring their audience in as well too. So it's not all just like make a comic and make a bunch of money. Like it's the effort to put in to spread the word.
Oh yeah, definitely. Max Deville, what's up? What's up? What's up, Max? Max will be on my show. So.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, Max is a cool dude. So, all right, let's get a little bit into the into process as far as like, you know, I mean, you've already said that you're writing, you're drawing, you're doing all this stuff. Where, like, why did you choose the like fantasy to be your main genre? You know, why not science fiction, superheroes? You know, what drove you to
This goes back to my roots. I am a fantasy lover. I love magic and mystery and creatures you can only imagine. And while I love my good share of sci-fi, I wanted more of like your fairies and your shapeshifters, you know, kind of vibe to my book. That's my go-to. Like if I'm looking for a book, like that's what I'm looking for. If I'm looking for a comic, I'm looking for that princess fairy tale, be your own hero kind of story. And so that's, you know, you start with your good foundation, and that's my foundation. Now, that being said, you know, there's lots of other genres and there's different like side stories that kind of play into it, but that's kind of ultimately what kind of led me to the fantasy genre.
All right, cool. Nice. So, all right, do you consider yourself a writer or an artist first?
Ooh, that's a hard question. I probably would consider myself an artist first. The writing, although I did start writing Wolf and I about 15 years ago, I was one of my worst critics. I was like, this isn't good enough. Oh, this will never be a book. This will never be anything. But I really enjoyed my art, and I really enjoyed drawing, and I constantly did a lot of fan art and stickers. And, you know, I really, you know, basically whatever my daughter was into, I was drawing art for her.
Nice.
And, you know, from that, I finally, you know, was sitting on this book, and I'd look at these pages, handwritten, typed up, sticky notes, like just stacks and stacks in like folders. And every year or two, when I'd like rearrange things in my office, I'd see them again. And I was like, I need to do something with this, because obviously there's potential here. But if I'm going to keep just changing it and reading it and changing it and being my worst critic, like I need to do something to jumpstart. And that's kind of what went from a book to a comic. Because if I started with issue 1, then I kind of told myself, okay, now I got to do issue 2. I can't just like leave it with one issue. And then it's the goal is to snowball from there. And here we are, issue 4. So it's working.
It's working, definitely. Okay, cool. Nice. Now, have you abandoned prose for comics in this particular case?
In Wolf and I, or just in general?
Well, for Wolf and
I have not, and especially as I've made it, you know, gone through a couple of issues, and I'm working on issue 5 now, hopefully for like the fall, winter. We'll see how life goes. I haven't, and a lot of people have asked me, like, what did you do with your original manuscript? Do you ever plan on releasing it as an actual book? And so I think it's going to take some rough editing, because especially as I've gone through the comics, I've made a lot of tweaks and changes to the story in order to make it flow in a more like concise and like condensing it down instead of like 6 pages for one scene into one page.
Right.
And so with that, I've made a lot of changes to the story, but eventually I'd love to release Wolf and I like as an actual like published novel.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I was just curious. You know, I mean, the allure is always easy. You know,
it's actually getting to do it that, you know,
right.
Getting around to doing it. That's the hard part.
Gotcha. Do you work with an editor?
I have worked with a couple of friends who are editors, nothing professionally, just kind of like throwing things at like a chapter at them. Like, what do you think about this? Like, what can we change about this? Like, because I'm not quite at the point where I'm like, oh, let's do it. I think I want to get the issues of the comics out first before I'm ready to launch for the first book.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I lucked out. I have a friend who is a professional editor.
Oh, sweet.
Oh yeah, I mean, I still pay him.
Yeah, of course. Well, just
Yeah,
like I pay my flatter, who's a good friend. Like we
yeah.
all support each other.
You know, he just gives me the friend rate, but he is merciless.
I think that's the hardest thing is like you think you're your own worst critic and then you have somebody else like actually critique you and you're like, ooh, I never thought about that. And you know, you have to take it with a grain of salt that they're trying to help you grow and improve, not necessarily like belittle you. But sometimes getting some of that feedback can be like, ooh, I never even thought about that.
Oh yeah, but you know, it's funny. I found that taking the beating has helped immensely. So
because you don't know how to grow if you don't know where your setbacks are.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, I got back my manuscripts, and they were just covered in red. I'm like, thank you.
you learn to love the red. You take the beatings with the positivity.
Exactly, man. But the work comes out better for it. So and that's in all honesty, that's you know the key to the entire thing.
That is very true.
Now, how does Etsy factor into your business? I mean, I've heard of it. I think I might have used it once to buy something random, but it's one of those. It's a bit of a mystery for me. Like, how does Etsy work?
So it's changed. I mean, I've been on Etsy since like 2012, maybe even earlier than that. And it's definitely changed since I originally started. Etsy was like the eBay for antiques and crafters and artists. So basically the whole like website was just like you can open up a storefront, you can list your items and how much they cost and their description. Like, I mean, basically like an eBay store, but it was specifically aimed towards individuals who either like made their own art, made their own comics, made their own like handmade like craft stuff, so like knitted and crocheted things or t-shirts they made. And there was like an antique side of it too, so like if you had antiques you could sell like unique boutique antiques. And about 5 years ago Etsy opened itself to like the anybody could sell anything type of market, and so there was a lot of like Chinese replica companies that came in,
right?
And so the competition's been kind of difficult because you have a lot of people that are, you know, selling stuff that's not necessary, like they using other people's pictures and then not selling the product that they're listing. So that's been kind of hard, but it's basically just like a storefront that artists or creators can use.
Okay, that's cool. And I mean, but do you find that do you turn a decent profit from it?
It's hit and miss. I will say, you know, over the past few years, there's been years where it's been good and it's been bad. I think a lot of it has to do with how you're advertising it, what kind of items you have, what kind of keywords you're using. I sell mostly stickers on Etsy, to be honest, stickers and my enamel pins. I've only sold a few comics on there, and it was really more like I posted the comics to Twitter or Facebook that they were in Etsy, and then people bought them from there.
Cool. I'm just curious. Like I said, it's new for me, so it's just like, even though it's been around forever, I just never used it.
Yeah, if you don't know, you don't know.
All right, so I'm gonna pull up your campaign so we can take a look.
Awesome, yeah.
There you go, nice. So all right, so you launched what, 2 days ago?
I launched right before the weekend. So I've been live for about five or 6 days now. Okay. I did a little bit longer campaign because I wanted to run until the end of June. We are here in great hot Arizona. And one of the things I learned with my first campaign is it is not a good idea to ship in June or July or even the very beginning of August because stuff melts here in our post office. Yeah. So I'm running the campaign through the end of June. And then with the, you know, sending everything in July and hoping to ship in the mid to end August when it's not quite so boiling hot where you can cook an egg on the sidewalk outside. Which you can do. And I have chickens, and if you actually don't grab their eggs like every day, then they soft boil inside their shells.
Okay, yeah, that's hot. I mean, what does it get up to, like 110?
Oh, like 120. And then if you're inside of a car or on the asphalt, even hotter than that.
No, I'm fine. Yeah. I like the Northeast. Thank you.
You know, we don't get snow down here though, so.
Snow is one of those things where it's a mixed thing. You
Yeah.
love it's happening, you love it, it's beautiful, it looks really
Mhm.
nice, right? But then you have to shovel it, and that's the part where you're just like, no, I can live without that too. So
Yep. Yeah. Well, and same thing with the heat. Like our winters and falls and springs are beautiful, absolutely
mhm.
beautiful. The weather's gorgeous. Even through winter, it's like, our highs are in the 50s through 70s, and like our lows are in the 20s to 40s. Like it's like nothing in our winters. But in the summer, it's like you can get naked and you're still hot and dying.
Gotcha. That's rough. So okay, so I mean, it looks like you're 75% roughly, right? A little
Yes,
over
I'm so
76%.
excited. Yeah, we just hit 75% yesterday.
Very nice. And you have all right, 28 days to go, so there's still
Mhm.
plenty of time. Nice. Okay, so walk me through it. What is Wolf and I
So
Waves of Dissonance about?
yeah, so Wolf and I Ways of Distance. Every issue of Wolf and I've like named like a chapters. That's my homage to like loving like actual novels instead of just calling it issue 1, issue 2, issue 3.
Hmm.
Um, and so Wolf and I Waves of Dissonance is the fourth issue in the Wolf and I series. And Wolf and I follows the lives of Sophia and Violet, who are two college students who are living their lives, who've grown up thinking they were human, and all of a sudden dark creatures start coming out of the woods, strange magical occurrences start happening, and they team up with their friend who turns out to be a half owl, half cat, so a meowl shapeshifter, who whisks them away to the land of Croweth and tells them a prophecy that they're destined to help save the land of Croweth. They just have to choose to accept their destiny and accept these powers, that they're not actually as human as they grew up thinking they were. And the fairy tales they were told as kids are actually more reality than story. And so the fourth issue takes our heroes. They've been transported to the land of Croweth, and now they're forced with some really tough decisions where they have to decide who's friend, who's foe on their way to the capital, so they can accept this destiny that's been thrust upon them.
Okay, cool. So now in the all right, so you're up to issue 4. How many more issues do you think the series is going to be roughly?
Oh, so this has been a hard thing, especially as I've like taken away pages and then added
Mhm.
pages and then changed things. Originally, I was looking at 20 issues, which is like mind blowing and a ton. And so we will like kind of get to see where things go. But as of right now, I'm kind of aiming for 20 issues. So this is going to be a couple year project.
Yeah. Now, and what type of release schedule are you looking? Are you looking doing 3 books a year, 4 books a year, 5 books?
So since I work full time as a Dr. Crawford here, a pediatric nurse
Mhm.
practitioner, I don't have quite as much time and liberty to put out 3 or 4 issues a year. My goal is to put out at least 2. I would love to be able to put out 3, but between being mom life and working as a pediatric nurse practitioner, 2 is a more reasonable goal for me.
Gotcha. Now, seeing as you're so busy, have you ever considered or even thought about just writing and maybe hiring an artist?
I have. The thoughts crossed my mind a couple of times. The problem is I want the interiors to stay very consistent, and I haven't found an artist yet that has a similar art style to mine.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, this is one of your alternative covers.
Yes.
Very nice.
Thank
This is Ryan Kincaid.
you. Hmm.
Honestly, I've never. It's funny. I may have run across his work, but I'm not familiar with the name. Where are you finding your artists?
Ooh, a little bit of everywhere. So some are really close friends of mine. Some I have happenstance found while perusing Instagram, and I'm like, I love their art style. Let me reach out to them and see if they're interested in doing a commercial variant cover for a comic. And some are more well-known comic artists in the industry or up-and-coming artists in the industry. So Ryan Kincaid is more is a fairly well-known, not so much in the indie, but more in the adult indie comics.
Right. Is he a Zenoscope artist?
I believe he has worked for Zenoscope a couple times. I don't quote me on that. I don't know for sure, but that does sound familiar.
Okay. Cool. Then you have I saw this was Gregbo and Gwen.
Yeah, so Grego did the art and then Gwen did the colors. She actually did the colors on Ryan Kincaid's piece. Gwen's actually from France. She's an amazing colorist. I absolutely love her. I just want her to teach me all her skills.
Nice.
And then Greg Bo's an up-and-coming artist in the indie community. He's done a lot of Kickstarter indie book variant covers, and he just does an excellent job too.
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous. Very nice. I like the little.
It's a running joke here in Arizona. We have a very clustered like indie comic community here in Arizona, and so there's a couple like innuendo, like if you know, you know, if you don't know, you'll know one day maybe.
Gotcha. So the starfish is an in joke?
Yes, it's an inside joke.
Gotcha. Okay. Fair enough. You have Keith Garvey. Very nice.
Mm-hmm. And this was actually, so this was a challenge to Keith. Keith normally does like tasty, sexy covers. And I said, hey, I have a teen rated book. I love your art style though. Can I challenge you to do like a PG-13 rated cover for me? And so he made this masterpiece and I just love how it turned out.
Yeah, this is really nice. It's gorgeous. JT Mahler. Very nice.
Mm-hmm. And JT has his own comic book series, the Sapphire Spectre, and this was actually a variant cover exchange. So I'm doing a cover for his next Kickstarter, and he did a cover for mine. So it was really kind of cool to meet up and team up in the indie community.
Mm-hmm. No, that's really nice. Steph Wilson and Carrie Ann, we all know Steph.
We all know Steph, and we love Steph. Yeah. I just love, they're the sweetest, biggest supporters in the indie comic. And this is actually the second cover that they've done for me. And so just really challenging Steph again to try and keep it PG-13.
Gotcha.
This is like the first line when I reach out. I'm like, this is a teen rated book. I don't need nudes. I just want a PG-13 cover.
Gotcha. And Dutch.
Mm-hmm. Dutch is the creator of the comic book The Wayfarer, and he's actually my flatter who does all the flats for Wolf and I. And so this is his second cover. He did a cover for issue 3 as well too. He just has such a dynamic, appealing look to his art.
Very nice. Very nice. Cammy King.
This is one of my Instagram finds. She's the diamond in the rough. Just one of those days I was scrolling and I was like, wow, I love this art style. Let's see if she wants to come on and do a piece for me.
Yeah, really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Trevor Grace.
Yes, very good friend of mine. Is up and coming in the comic community. Has done some variant covers for other individuals, and this is his second variant cover that he's done for Wolf and I.
Nice.
And I believe that's the end of the variants. So I went a little overboard with variants this time. I was going to limit it to 4 or 5, and then they just started like rolling in.
You're like, one more variant. Give me another one. It's hard. You get surrounded by fantastic artists.
You do. Oh, you do. Well, and then some of them I had asked for like issues 2 or 3 and never heard back from. And then they finally got back to me. And I was like, well, I can't say no now because I've been waiting for 1.5 years to get a cover from you.
Gotcha. Nice. Now, the obviously they work for you because you've done a lot of them. So, I mean, do you feel like they add a lot of value to the campaign?
Yes and no. I think there are some that do and some that don't. I will say it's very nice to have a variant cover if the artist is open to like sharing the campaign so that their audience, because a lot of times their audience will come pick up the book because they want to support that artist. They know the artist got paid for that cover. And in order to have them on future issues, the campaign has to be successful. And so in that respect, but it goes back to, again, I love supporting the indie community. This is my passion project. One comic at a time pays off student loans, of course. But if I can help other creators, kind of help grow as an artist, help grow their career as an artist, help put food on their family's table and a roof over their heads by hiring from a variant cover, I would rather do that and break even, knowing that I helped them out.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Very nice. And I see these are your 2 pins.
Yes, those are my mermaid pins. So this campaign I actually did 2, but I used the same design with just a color swap on them because I have like 10 different mermaids in the book.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. There you are. All right, very nice.
Thank you.
It looks awesome. I mean, yeah. So here's the thing. So you obviously made a conscious decision to do a YA book, right?
Yes.
So Now, why? Why did you choose like that particular age group?
Because, looking at, I mean, again, I love YA books. I like new adult books too, but like that is my love. Like that's my roots. If I were to pick up go to the bookstore and pick one book, like that's the section I'm going to first. I also feel like there's not a ton of YA specific like comics. Like it's not a big, at least in when I've been looking, and I've been looking through a lot of it's more like manga and less like YA comic. There's a lot of adult comics and a lot of horror comics, and there's a lot of like all ages and kid comics.
Right.
But I feel like there's a big gap when it comes to YA comics. And I don't know if it's because there's just not that audience there for YA comics, because those kids are mostly reading mangas or books or other things. Or if everybody kind of feels nervous to get in that genre and they'd rather either give themselves all ages or give themselves over to the, adult genre.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. That's fair. That's fair. Hold on. I gotta.
No worries.
Just gonna pull up. What is that?
Yes. Oh yeah. Apache Junction is real hot.
Hey, Carla says, Dr. Crawford, I got this vertigo feeling. There you go. Nice.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Yeah, Carlos is a good friend. He's an awesome creator. He does superhero comics. So that guy.
Awesome.
Yeah, more super. Like we need more super. No, I'm only joking. Carlos is mad cool. I love his book. Okay, cool, nice, very nice. Hold on. All right, there we go. All right, so that's awesome. I mean, so you have 28 more days.
Yes.
Like I said, you got plenty of time. You're gonna blow through that, and probably quadruple that number. So
I hope so. My goal is to get 10% more than the previous campaign, and the last campaign hit 5,100. So, big goals for the next one. But if we don't get there, as long as we fund, I'm happy, because it just means that Wolf and I, another issue comes to life, and I got to help other artists, and my story just is slowly, one issue at a time, coming together, and and that makes me happy.
All right, cool, very nice, very nice. I like it. So, Krysta, we've been at this for a minute, right? We're almost at the end, but we're not at the end just yet. So I have a bunch of goofy questions I'm going to ask you.
Of course.
Right? So trust me, they get even goofier. All right, but before we do that, though, please let everybody know where they can find you and your work.
So I am pretty much on every social media platform. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook at Fleur de Villainy. And the comic has its own Instagram, Wolf and I Comic. And so you can reach all of us there. The Instagram Instagram for the comic is just exclusively sneak peeks, work in progress, variant covers, different things that like the pens and the t-shirts and all those kinds of swaggy stuff. The other social media has a little bit of everything. It's got art, it's got costumes, it's got baking. So beware, if you follow me on Instagram, there will be lots of baking pictures.
It sounds like a dangerous site.
It's deliciously dangerous. And then, of course, on Twitter, I'm a big supporter of indie comics. So if you have your own comic, if you want your art shared, I do a Kickstarter share Sunday or Saturday, depending on what day I remember to do it, on Twitter. So I love helping others' dreams come true.
Nice. That's why I'm here.
Yep. We all rise together.
Yes, exactly. Very much. All right. So, Krysta, if you had the choice, you're already doing alternative covers. You have a bunch of fantastic artists. Now, if you had your druthers and you had the choice of any artist, living or dead, doesn't matter. Don't worry about budget. Who would you like to get to do a cover?
Oh, man. That's a hard one, because I will say that most of the people that I've wanted to have on covers, I've actually made it magically happen. This one was a little heavier. Ryan Kincaid was one of the ones that I wanted to get as a cover. And so, I haven't thought about another one outside of him. They all start to get more pricey after that. But if I could get somebody that works for Walt Disney, even like a ghost artist, to do like a very Disney-esque cover, that would be really epic.
Okay. Do you know who Floyd Norman is?
I don't know who Floyd Norman is. I feel like I should know this name though.
Look him up on Facebook.
Okay.
He might be able to help you out. I don't know.
I'm gonna write myself a sticky note.
Long-time old school animator.
Okay.
And he does commissions. So I
awesome.
I don't know the price range, so that you'd have to figure out with him.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, my next issue, the plan is to have all female artists for my variant covers, but maybe for issue 6, that might be up my alley for that one.
Cool. Sounds good. So now, if you were given the you got a golden ticket, right?
Are we going to Willy Wonka? No, just kidding.
And they called you up to any of the big companies, right?
Okay.
And they said, Krysta, choose any IP, and you had the choice of any IP to work on. What IP would you want to work on?
I'd want to do something with Beauty and the Beast. It's hands down. It's my favorite story. It's my favorite cartoon, classic and modern. Like that's what I would want to work on.
Okay, that's cool. That's
like
cool.
Side stories of it, like the adventures of Beauty, like after the whole magical transformation castle scene, like what happens afterwards, because we don't get a lot of those stories.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. All right, so now I have a bunch of comparatives. Okay. So I will softball. I don't know how okay. I'll just just throw
them out there.
We'll start. Here we go. What are my favorites? Captain America or Batman?
Captain America.
Okay, cool.
Hands down.
Isaac. Isaac Asimov or Robert Heinlein?
Robert Heinlein.
Interesting. Nice. Okay. Any particular book?
Ooh. No, not particularly. I've just not. He's one that I've read, and I haven't read the other author. I'll admit it.
That's fair. Foundation, if you ever get a chance.
Okay.
The Foundation series of his books. I think they're stunning. Fifth Element or Stargate?
Sorry, it was what or Stargate?
Fifth Element. Yes.
Probably Stargate. Yeah, Stargate. We'll go Stargate.
Okay, that's fair. Harry Potter or Narnia?
Harry Potter. You can't even know. There's no other. Did you see my Harry Potter Dr. Water bottle?
No, I actually know. That's funny.
So I have the Deathly Hallows symbol with the medical symbol combined, and then it's every day I'm Slytherin.
Gotcha. Okay.
You're like, just stop there.
No, that's fine. Spock or Data?
Ooh. Oh, now these are getting tough. Oh, I can't choose. Probably Data. Oh, yeah, we'll go with Data. I think they're. Oh, if I had to choose between the two, I think I can relate better to Data than I can Spock. Sometimes it's a little, when you're watching the way that his brain works and the way that he communicates with people, sometimes it's a little hard to relate.
Okay. Fair enough. Manga or anime?
Neither really. I guess anime. Okay. I never got into manga or anime. I really didn't. Really. I didn't really. I think I've gotten more into it as a mom because my daughter watches a lot of anime.
Right.
But I never really did. I mean, I was the kid that was like at lunch reading like The Fountainhead and Les Mis and The Hobbit while everybody else is flipping through their mangas. Okay,
fair enough. That's cool. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle or Agatha Christie?
Ooh. Oh man, that's a hard one. I love Sherlock Holmes so much, but Christie's such a classic too. I'd have to go with our friend Sherlock Holmes with Sir Arthur, because I would say I read more of his books as a kid, or and as an adult too. And I grew up on Sherlock Holmes. That was one of my like top 20 that I had to read.
Gotcha.
Oh, Steph is in the chat. Hi, Steph.
Yeah,
Were your ears burning? We were talking about you.
Nice. Yes. Personally, I find Arthur Conan Doyle. I like the work. I like the character, right? But I think I feel Agatha Christie is actually a better writer. You know.
Yeah.
I think her prose are just. I think she's overall. I think she's a better writer. Although I think he had the better character.
Yeah. I could see that. I just liked his stories a lot more. I don't think I got into Agatha Christie as much until I was more in my like teen adult years, so it didn't have quite as like such a root impact as he did. I mean, I have one of like the original like giant like collection of Sherlock Holmes books.
Mm-hmm.
But I did want to, I'm always going back and rereading people too, and I feel like every time you reread again and again, that you like get a different perspective, especially as you age and as your mindset changes too. And so I've been really surprised, going back and reading some of these older books that I read, 20 or 15, 20, 25 years ago, that I was like, oh wow, like that's not like how I remember it in my head, or I remember it flowing so much better or so much more in depth than it was, or, every book's different though.
Gotcha. Buffy or Supernatural?
Ooh, Buffy.
Okay.
Actually, I've never watched Supernatural, I'll be honest. But I was a big Buffy and Charmed kid.
No, I got you. I was there. Game of Thrones or Witcher?
Ooh. I've never read or watched Witcher. I've only watched season 1 of Game of Thrones. I've read all the books, actually read all the books before they came out as a TV series, and I got really frustrated with the TV series.
Gotcha.
Steph, don't make me feel bad.
Agatha's a good read. Yeah, sure. It's Supernatural. There you go. Here's one for you. Werewolf or vampire?
Ooh, man, this is a hard one. Movies or books? Because that makes a difference.
It's up to you.
Oh, man. This is a toss-up for me, because it really just depends on the book. I have read some amazing, like, lycanthropy, books that were just fabulous. And I've read also a lot of vampire books that were fabulous. I've read vampire books that were awful. And I've had books that have a little bit of both in them. And it's like, to throw my teenage years out there, like Twilight had a really good a different concept on vampires. But then the movie did the werewolves better. So Team Dean. But again, I grew up reading Dracula and grew up reading, a lot of like the classic, like your typical scary vampire, seduces the girl type of books too. So I think it just depends on the situation.
Okay. Oz or Wonderland?
Oz. Okay. Oz. I like Wonderland, but I think I'd go with Oz. I was a Twilight fan. Sorry, I'm reading the comments. I'm distracted by Steph. Oh. How did he know? Is my age showing here?
You're fine. Walking Dead or Dawn of the Dead?
I'm not a big zombie person. Can I go with like Disney zombies where I'm a zombie, yeah. You're a zombie, yeah. No, just kidding. Probably Walking Dead.
Okay, fair enough. That's fun. I should come up with some. I don't have any. I don't think the only question I have with Disney is Disney, Pixar, or anime. But I I already know where you're at.
Pixar, hands down.
Exactly.
I was like, my favorite restaurant is Pixar Pier. Actually, I had a question for you. How many people do you ask these questions to who have no idea who like Agatha Christie is, or some of these older authors?
All right. Before I answer that question, I'm gonna ask you this question: Robert E. Howard or Fritz Leiber?
So you said Robert
E. Howard or Fritz Leiber?
Oh. I know Robert, but I'm trying to think about what Fitz wrote.
Fritz Leiber wrote Fat Fart and Grey Mouser. He's like an old school. He's a contemporary of H.P. Lovecraft.
Okay.
Like he was like, yeah.
I don't think I've read anything by him.
Yeah, if you get I forgot the title. It's something Lankmar, but like I said, Fat Fart and Grey Mouser. It's Fritz Leiber. I bring up the names because too many of these older authors are being forgotten. And I like to bring up the names, even if you don't know, the guest doesn't know. It's because they need to be remembered. I mean, Fritz Leiber is fantastic.
Otherwise, you're just a book on the shelf.
Exactly, and he coined the phrase sword and sorcery. So, and then Robert E. Howard, obviously Conan, and
your classic. I mean, he was one of the biggest Pulp Fiction writers, but he wrote a lot of diverse range of genres. But Conan probably is what most people know him for.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I know him for. I'll be honest. I haven't read all of his Conans. I think I've read one or two of them.
Oh yeah. Now to answer your question, it's funny because I tend to. It depends who I have on, right?
Yeah.
So I try to set it. I try to find out a little bit about the person. So, it's like, okay, so I find out you don't like anime and manga. Or you're not. It's not your preference. So I'm not going to ask you. I'm not going to ask you Naruto, right?
Yeah. I mean, I know of anime. I mean, I have to. I would look like the silliest pediatric provider if I didn't know who Sailor Moon versus Naruto was. Now, if you get any weirder or more crazy, I'll be like, that one with the robot with the humanoid thing. Yeah.
No, I got you. So I try to find out. It's like, I have a bunch of horror questions, but I figure you're not into horror.
No, right? it's not my genre. I'll admit it. I know some horror, but not a lot. We do movies every Friday because there's a movie theater here called AMC, and they have a pass for $20 a month. You can see 3 movies a week, and so every Friday, we go out as a group of friends and see movies. And every Friday that it's horror movie night, they know I'm staying home and doing something else.
Nice, gotcha. All right, so here, let me ask you: Pan's Labyrinth or Labyrinth?
Ooh, Labyrinth.
Okay.
Yeah, Labyrinth for sure. In fact, I'm working on a Jareth cosplay right now in the ball ground scene. So
nice. Do you go to the what is it?
Convention? I haven't. No, but that was one of my my favorite films. Still is one of my favorite films.
Yeah.
Here, dance, magic dance.
Growing up, it's Labyrinth for me and Legend.
Oh yeah.
Tom Schmooze. Gotta love Tom Schmooze.
And I'm a Bowie fan. Like, you just can't help but love Bowie.
This is true. Yeah. Those two films are incredible. But when it comes down to these questions, I try to tailor it. But I sometimes do get blank stares. Like, what?
There were a couple I had to clear the cobwebs. I'm like, I know I've read that. I mean, I'll be honest, I read 30 to 70 books a year as an adult, depending on what type of books I read. Obviously some are quick, like one-day reads. And as I've gone through my master's and my doctorate and now working as a full-time practitioner, I tend to lean more towards fun fantasy quick reads than I do some of my old. But I try to a couple times a year either go to a nonfiction or a classic. I love Ayn Rand. I've read a lot by her. Just the way she thinks and the way her mind is. And then of course every October I have to go back and read Pride and the Prejudice, some of your classic Edwardian novels.
Okay, cool. All right. So I asked you a bunch of these already. I'll ask you two more, and then we'll wrap it
Okay.
up. H.P. Lovecraft or Poe?
H.P. Lovecraft or Poe?
Yes.
Like Edgar
Mhm.
Allan Poe. Sorry, I was
Edgar
like
Allan?
Edwin.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Edgar Allan Poe.
Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh. Mm. I mean, I love like the whole Lovecraft. I'd have to go with Poe. Poe's more like classic to me.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
I mean, I do like Lovecraft, but if I
Mhm.
had to choose between the two, there's just something like bone chilling about some of the stuff that Poe wrote that just like hits you.
Mhm. Oh yeah. No, no. Yes. I get it. Um, Bram Stoker or Mary Shelley?
That's a hard one. I'd put them on the same shelf. Let's
Mhm.
see. If I had to choose between Stoker or Shelley. Probably Shelley. Oh, I don't know. I guess it depends on their works because there's some things I like and there's some things I don't. Um, yeah, we'll go with that.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. We'll end it with this. Bone or Cerebus?
Ooh, say that one more time. I didn't catch that.
Bone,
Okay.
Jeff Smith. Cerebus, Dave Sim.
I don't think I know either of those. I'll be honest.
Wow. Okay. That's fair. I mean, I would. You might like Bone. I
Okay.
mean, both of them are great books.
Okay.
Both of them, they're like a little bit more on the. Well, Bone is probably more up your alley.
Okay.
Cerebus is one of those things where it's like, it's just a little crazy. You know,
Hmm.
it's a
I'm
little
a
bit.
little chaos isn't bad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah,
You'll have to send me those so I can look into them because I was like, I don't think I've had those on my reading list.
there you go. And then before his stuff was like T.
Of
Jacob.
course. No, Team Edward. Just kidding. I'm gonna have to give Steph a lot of crap after this.
I, you know, it's funny. Those movies were coming. I never watched any of them, so I'm really curious. I waste one day, sit down, and just binge
They're
watch it.
really just goofy. They're really just one of those like you put on for the the comical laughs. They've got some pretty good like the music they used for it was actually pretty good. I do have a lot of the music saved just because the artists the um bands and the artists that they brought in for some of the music just was really well together. At least like for I listen to pretty much everything, but I did like the genres they used.
Okay, cool, cool. Well, Kristen, we made it to the end. So you know we got here. Thank you so much. This was awesome. Love the book. So
Thank
please,
you.
one more time, let everybody know where they can find you and your work.
Yeah, so I'm on all social medias at Flirt of Villainy, and you can find the comic at Wolf and I Comic on Instagram, and we're on Etsy as well.
All right, cool. And Carlos writes in, time to go to the gym, so take care and good luck. All right, Carlos,
Awesome.
have a good workout, and I'll see you soon. Thank you, Krista. This was awesome. So
Yeah,
thank you,
thanks for
everybody.
having me on.
Listen, anytime, anytime. My door's always open. We'll talk. You know, maybe towards the end of the campaign, I can bring you on to the Sunday show, and you can, you know, gotta promote, right?
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate it. Yeah, you can't if you don't get the word out, it doesn't get out.
Exactly, exactly. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a great night, and I'll be talking to you all soon.